Oh, hello and welcome to What We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and we are here to make you guys some money. We're back for another rousing game of Idiot versus Insider. I am the idiot. James is the insider. And last week, James, you and I both went 5-2. So Mazel Tov. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I mean, what a great week. Who's seeing the billboard better than us?
Nobody. Now, that was Biden's America that we were winning in. So now we have to transition to Trump's America after the election yesterday. So we don't know if we're going to keep our hot streak going. But if we start falling off a cliff, it is Trump's fault. So we would like to make that known to our followers. Obviously, just kidding. Lock of the week, James, hits again. Last week, we are 6-2. We took Falcons over the Cowboys. We had them at -2.5. Never a doubt. Easy peasy. Congratulations to you, James.
That was an easy win for sure. Don't come into Kirko's trap because you're not taking over his trap.
He's going to take your trap. So you got to be aware of that. So like I said, both of us were 5-2 last week, but I beat you last week in units because we always take care of units on this podcast. We keep it as fair as humanly possible. James, you had the Chargers money line instead of Chargers -2.5. I was incorrect on that game. I took the over, which was the most frustrating game to watch if you had an over and over history, because I bet on variance and variance bit me in the ass. I had hope that Jameis Winston, when he threw those interceptions, they wouldn't all three be like basically in the end zone. They would be on his own side of the football field. Didn't work out that way. I think there was 3 missed field goals in that game. A missed extra point was a rough one if you had the over. The weather held up for us. We had everything that we needed. We had a big Quentin Johnson blown coverage touchdown, and it just wasn't enough for me, James. But how are you feeling about how you did last week and me beating you again, making my streak 8-0? The only victory you've had between the two of us came in week 1, James.
I think I just blew my load in week 1. That might have been it. That was, I am known for going too hot. If you've ever come to a CrossFit gym with me, I am known for going out way too hot in the first round. So, no, I think it was a great week. I was able. I think the funniest bet that I had that we didn't put on the podcast was I grabbed Kansas City's team total at over 27.5, and that game. If that game hadn't gone to overtime, I would have lost that by big time.
Nice.
So shout out to coin flips going your way. But no, great week. Shout out to the Panthers, keeping things interesting. Bryce Young is back. I think that's the number one thing I want to take away from this week. Bryce Young is back.
All the way back, you're saying?
All the way. Never a doubt.
Never a doubt. Interesting to find that out. Yeah, we did have the Panthers. I think we bet them both at +7. They win outright, of course, over the Saints. So that was another.
That was crazy.
Easy peasy. That was one that we were down to those were our last two for our lock of the week, was the Falcons and the Panthers. And we aired on the side of the Falcons. Either way would have been.
How about Detroit Green Bay, huh? I mean, we had 3:25 left and they were at 48 and they didn't score another point for the rest of the game. Oh my God. You
had the over in that one?
I had the under 48.
Oh yeah, that was a awesome under game for you.
That half point is clinging on by fingernails. And I thought for sure I was screwed when I looked at the score and I went, oh no, Jamie's going to destroy me. And then, you still beat me, but at least it was close.
Yep. I actually had Lions in that game. I think at like -2.5. Yeah. Never a doubt. Or it was 3.5 when I got it. I got a bad number because when we record, we go off of the numbers that we can bet on at current time. So we won anyway. That's good news. I am kicking your ass in this experiment that we're running, but it's not your fault because I'm also kicking the sportsbook's ass. I'm 7-2 in winning weeks against them. That's including a 5-2 week last week. That's including a 7-0 week in I think week 3, and that's including a 6-1 week last week, 2 weeks ago. So things are going pretty well. The one meeting we had a meeting every Sunday to discuss the future of our program. And the first thing you said, I think when you walked into my office in Design District Dallas, was, Jamie, we can't bet Thursday night anymore. I think I don't know. You're definitely on like a 4-0 streak, maybe a 5-0 losing streak on Thursday night. I am, I think 1-5 or 1-4
we had the
Thursday night.
By your dad's request in the comments section.
Yeah.
Bet against the Lions. So
I was excited to hear that in our meeting last week. And I'm like, all right, great. We don't have to bet Thursday night anymore. You send me the slate and I start perusing it. I open the first game, Bengals Ravens, like, oh, that'll be a fun game to handicap. Can't wait to handicap that one. Guess what? It's Thursday night. Bengals at Ravens. Ravens trade for Tre'Davious White for like a 7th round pick. Bengals trade Khalil Herbert on trade deadline day, so add a little bit of depth to their running back room after they lost Moss. Zach Moss goes down with a scary neck injury, so I hope he's going to be okay, but doesn't look good. Kind of like an indefinite IR situation. Could be scary. Could be kind of like maybe done for his career. We've seen it happen before to running back, so hopefully he's able to bounce back. The weather for this one looks perfect for football, and the over-under would indicate that. 53 is the over-under. Ravens are 5.5-point favorites. Take it away, James.
All right. So maybe America might just want to fade us on this one, but fade us on Thursday, follow us on Sunday. That might be that's our next t-shirt. I've got the under in this game. I'm taking the under 53, and let me tell you why. These are both the statistically best offenses in the league. You're probably saying, well, why would you take the under? Baltimore has the 6th strength of schedule, while Cincinnati has the 25th. So I think Cincinnati's ranking a little bit higher than what it is in real life. Both teams have been hot lately. I've seen a lot of what I've liked from Cincinnati, but the also thing I've seen from Cincinnati this year is inconsistency. They have good times, they have bad times. I think both of these teams are going to come off a little bit of their hot streak this week. We'll come back down to the averages is what I think I will see. I also think short prep week, there's not a lot that you can do. Not a lot of wrinkles that you can throw in there. And most importantly, I think Baltimore has a fantastic ground game. I don't see why they don't use the ground game against Cincinnati in this. I don't. You're still going to see Lamar roll out, but I don't think you'll have as much deep passes and much home run balls. I think you'll see a lot more of a just get the 3, get the 4 yards every single down from Baltimore, win this game pretty easily, but not score a lot of points.
Yep. I was kind of leaning that direction. This is, I think, because we've been keeping a close eye on these Ravens. We've been taking their over a lot this season. Off my top of my head, I think I've taken 2 overs for the Ravens this year. And the reason for that is because they can score on offense, and their defense is pretty suspect. Now, they do get Tre'Davious White. It was like a 7th round pick. I'm not expecting that to be meaningful in this game whatsoever. No. If I had to guess. And obviously, a running back, I like Khalil Herbert, but a running back's a running back, so you can't expect too much from
Derrick Henry
from there. Lamar Jackson, I think he was banged up last week. I think he sat out early last week with like a sore knee. This line would indicate that he'll be full go, at least the over under where we're sitting right now in Ravens -5. So I wouldn't be too super concerned there. T. Higgins, I think, is a very meaningful one. Now, Mike Gesicki just seems like he just fills in the T. Higgins role whenever T. Higgins is out, and he might be just better at it than T is. I might just say that into a microphone. Anyway, he's not better at grittying. I will say that. 2 touchdowns for the young man last week. So all that to say, like, the under is I think fine in this. I would be a little bit concerned about the Ravens defense. Ravens also don't like this for the under. 2nd in points per game in the NFL. Bengals do have a little bit of penalty luck, or a lot of bit of penalty luck, and we've been keeping a close eye on this. This kind of came to fruition with the Packers because they were one of the luckiest penalty teams going into last week. And then I think Dan Campbell got with the referees and was like, "Hey, nobody's calling these penalties. Look at this, and this." And it was a penalty disaster at
out
home.
The Microsoft Surface and hey, check that out.
Exactly. It was a penalties all over the field at Lambeau, and pretty much all against the Packers. I think the Lions had 0 penalties going into the second half. Or maybe they just had, I think the Brian Branch had 2 penalties in the first half on 1 play, and that was it for the Lions in the full first half, if I remember correctly. So that is something that does kind of come back around. Discipline is one thing, but at the end of the day, like, you're going to get penalties. And if you're leading the league in the least penalized team, that's going to kind of creep back towards average, going to make you artificially a better team than you really are in real life. The Ravens offense, second in EPA per play. Bengals are 10th in that metric. Ravens offense is fourth in EPA per rush. And we know the Bengals can't stop the rush. They're currently sitting at 25th in that metric. They're fifth worst in EPA per rush on defense. The Bengals are 25th in EPA per rush on offense. Okay. So Ravens offense, fourth in EPA per rush. They're going up against the fifth worst defense in EPA per rush. Bengals can't run the ball on offense. They can't stop the run on defense. What do you got to do to win football games, James?
Run the dang ball
and stop the dang run. Okay. So for that reason, we have the Ravens at home, good weather game. I'm expecting Lamar Jackson to be 100%. Give me Ravens at minus 5.5, James.
Ooh, I like that one.
Hey, James, I've been waiting all night for Sunday morning. We're going to watch the Panthers play the Giants. This is technically a Panthers home game, the way it's listed, but obviously who cares? The Panthers trade Jonathan Mingo to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick after we saw a couple future Hall of Famers go for less in the wide receiver position this season in the trading markets leading up to the deadline. The Panthers are 5.5 underdogs in Germany. The over-under set to 41.5, James.
Yes, well, as they say over in Germany, this is a Heimspiel for the Carolina Panthers. And if you use Google Translate, that means home game. I think both these teams suck. I think these teams both are atrocious. Besides Brian Daboll, who is a genius, you should always kick a field goal when you're down 10.
On 1st and 10. Always do it.
Always do it.
It's so smart.
Bryce Young is back. Both these teams suck. Brian Daboll does not like to cover games. Give me Carolina. Give me Carolina +6. You can get that number right now. Get that +6. Very important.
Okay. Yeah, obviously shop your lines. That's a key number, that +6. I was leaning that way, James. So let me tell you what I found on this game. Giants, 26th in point differential. Panthers, 32nd. Giants, 32nd in point per game. Panthers are 29th. You're welcome, Germany. Enjoy watching this one too.
We're sending you the best of the best.
The best and the brightest. These teams, when I broke it down, James, to your credit, are basically the Spider-Man meme. Like, they're just two Spider-Mans pointing back at each other, except they're like the shitty Spider-Man who, like, when he first made his costume and it was gross. And then he got like the
Square Spider-Man.
The professional costume came a little bit later. So the only thing that got me off Panthers at +5.5 is the advantage that the Giants have, surprisingly, I guess, in the passing game. Offensively and defensively, the Giants are better in EPA per pass, okay, when compared to the Panthers. Dalton, you're all the way back on Bryce Young, I guess. You're expecting him to start this game?
I've never been off Bryce Young. I've been off the organization that is the Carolina Panthers, just for the record.
So who's starting this game, if you had to guess?
I don't see how Bryce doesn't start. I mean, the only interception he had in this game was probably the best ball I've ever seen thrown that managed to get intercepted. I mean, really grabbed out of the wide receiver's hands. Mingo leaving probably makes this better for his receiving core. I think you could put me out there and I'd do better than Jonathan Mingo. Put me in the slot. Give me a 2-yard in. Good luck, everybody else. But I don't see why you don't start him.
Okay.
Got nothing to lose at this point. If you're going to trade him, you should put him in to get more trade value. If you somehow think he's the future of your franchise, you should get him reps.
Okay. So I sort of disagree with you. I do think Dalton, well, I guess I don't disagree with you with your sentiment, like you're just building for the future, I guess. Dalton's the better quarterback right now. Would you agree with that?
Sure. Dalton's a better quarterback like statistically wise, he's going to get you a better passer rating. It's not going to. I don't feel like he wins you more games, if that makes sense.
Okay, I sort of disagree. I think he wins you more games. I think you do have a dice roll that Dalton's thumb is feeling better in this game, and that will produce more offense for the Panthers. But that's just okay.
Dalton is like if you had a traditional 6-sided die, and Bryce Young is like if you had an 8-sided die. Like you're probably going to get relatively close anomalies there, but like Bryce Young's, ceiling, even though he's not doing well right now in this organization, his ceiling is higher than Andy Dalton's ceiling
for the future.
It's just Andy Dalton's going to give you more of a, he's going to give you the 2s and 3s. Bryce will give you the 6s and 7s.
Okay. I guess we'll sort of disagree to agree there. The over-under, like I said, set to 41.5 this season. Panthers have played 9 games this season. 8 of those 9 games have gone over 41.5, James. Wow. The Giants, in their last 5 games, 3 of them have gone over, including their last 2 games, would have gone over 41.5. Okay. So I was leaning towards the Panthers, but they're just too similar in teams. And I am a little bit afraid of Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors just slicing and dicing this Panthers defense. This Panthers defense is so bad that they can cover 41.5 by themselves by giving up 42 points in this game. Okay. To a pretty bad offense on the other side of the football. Okay. So I'm going to take the over 41.5 this game, James.
And early morning over.
We are moving on to the Vikings and the Jags. I picked the Vikings last week to bounce back off the Detroit flu game and the Detroit game, and they did. And they beat the Colts, who you picked, James. So which way are you going in this one? The Jags are 4-point underdogs at home. The over-under set to 47.
Well, they just had a very big game in Jacksonville, and it was Georgia, Florida. That's probably the most meaningful game having been played on that field so far this year. Probably also saw more NFL talent. Just kidding. I am backing Jacksonville here. I have their money line at plus 165, and I'll tell you why. On defense, these teams rank 17th and 18th. On offense, they rank 10th and 15th. I don't see a very large statistical difference between these two of these.
According to PFF, right, James?
According to PFF. And I don't see a lot outside of the wins and loss columns that does separate them when I dive into advanced analytics. When I look at offensive line, defensive line, individual player grades, the only thing that stood out to me was that Trevor Lawrence had a far higher PFF grade than Sam Darnold did this year, which was very interesting. They focused a lot on the home run balls, and Trevor Lawrence, basically, kind of what we talked about with Andy Dalton versus Bryce Young, has a higher ceiling and a lower floor. You got to win games. You got to make the touchdowns, right? And that's pretty obvious. We talked about running the ball. I think that the Jaguars have a very good ability to win this game. I think this is closer to a coin flip than what the books have it at. So I see a lot of value at plus 165, especially for Jacksonville being the home team. And so I'm going to be taking the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay. Jags money line, says James. So here's what I got on this one, James. Vikings, 8th in points per game, 6th in point differential. So they're very good. They're an elite team, which I don't think is really getting talked about enough. Jags, for example, for those two metrics, Jags are 18th and 25th, respectively, versus 8th and 6th. So Vikings, much better football team. Vikings are undefeated this season other than the Detroit game, which is really hard to beat Detroit unless you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin full go and Baker Mayfield in week 2 in a game that Jared Goff wasn't all the way back yet. Okay. And the flu game, which no team this season in the NFL has won or covered the spread the week after they played the Detroit Lions. And sometimes we've seen it take 2 or 3 weeks for them to recover. Okay. They do bounce back. The Vikings do last week.
2 flu games next week. We'll preview right there for you, America.
Ooh. The Vikings strength of schedule have a win over the Jets, the Texans, the Packers, and the 49ers, just for example. So they've beat really, really solid up to really, really, really good teams. Jags home field, they are home. Is that worth 1 point, James?
I would assume 1.5. Have you been in that pool? Have you been in that pool? You want to go. You want to go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a fun.
I would love to go to see a game there. I don't think their home field advantage is worth a single point. It's not a long flight for the Vikings. It's not a tough home field to play in. It's a Rough Riders game, James. It's a minor league baseball game that you're going to see. Basically, that's the vibe of the environment there. So getting Vikings to 4 points, I don't see how we get there necessarily, even if you give Jags like 1.5 for their home field. Jags, worst defense in EPA per pass. The Vikings offense is 13th best. They do have Justin Jefferson. What's their Achilles heel? Of course, we know that Sam Darnold under pressure sucks. He's one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure. I've got good news for you, Jags. 4th worst in pressure rate in the NFL. Give me Vikings. Give me them at -4. That's a disagreement, James. And the only one we've agreed on is that Thursday night. Or no, we haven't agreed yet.
We haven't agreed on any of these. No.
We haven't agreed yet.
That
crazy. Might be problematic.
How do we do a lock of the week?
If we can't agree, it'd be a true unity podcast after what we saw on election night. We're going to bring America together with this. Because you had over under on Thursday night, right? You had the under.
Yeah.
And then Sunday morning, I had the over. And then we just disagreed sides on that one. That's okay.
No agreement yet?
That's okay. We might have a Sunday night. Hey. Maybe. We'll see.
We might.
Stay tuned. We might have a Sunday night lock of the week. Primetime lock of the week. How do you like that? 49ers at Bucks. That's the next game on the slate, right, James?
That is correct. And one more thing that you forgot to mention about Sam Darnold that's going to give the major advantage to Jacksonville Jaguars. If you hit him in the face, refs don't call it. You can face mask him. You can slam him to the ground. They don't like calling penalties when he gets hit in the pocket illegally. So
I forgot about that. That's a good point, James. Yeah,
thanks
for bringing that up. Yeah. The 49ers and the Buccaneers. 49ers off of a bye. Buccaneers off of an overtime road loss on Monday night, James. CMC should be back. Evans probably not. Buccaneers +5. The over-under set very high to 50.5 points, James.
Yeah, Evans definitely out in my opinion. There's your insider info.
Breaking.
Yeah, breaking.
We've been wrong before about injuries this season. I don't think we're going to be wrong about that one if I had to guess.
Knock on wood. I'm taking the under in this game. Under 15.5. I was able to grab it at -105 too, which is great. Not getting that classic -110 juice. Both wide receiver cores banged up beyond belief. I mean, they're all throwing in 3rd to 4th strings. I think Juwan Jennings is still questionable, possibly 100% out.
Debo should be back though, right, James? Or he ended last week healthy.
Hopefully. I mean, I think the
pneumonia game, right?
I mean, people keep forgetting. I just don't quite understand. I think pneumonia, having had it, is something that you just don't get over with. I think but
he already played a good snap percentage in that game on short notice, and now he just had a week to recover.
It's a lung capacity issue. It really messes with you. So I think Debo needs a couple more weeks before I would consider him 100%. He could play a lot of snaps, but I don't think he's at his full potential. Is my opinion here.
I thought he was pretty good. Keep going, James.
I mean, hey, look, I just telling you what it's like. One of the few times I've experienced an injury that an NFL player has. Haven't broken a bone yet, so we'll see. So looking at these teams, Tampa Bay passes 65% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The San Francisco 49ers have the highest pass coverage rating according to PFF. So that's
49ers do?
They do. And that's immediately taken away Tampa Bay's best weapon to score points. San Francisco passes 57% of the time. Tampa Bay ranks 13th within pass coverage. However, they have the #1 strength of schedule played. They've played some of the toughest passing teams and still rank 13th. I think both of these teams are going to be able to take away the pass. I think you'll obviously see the ball run quite a bit from San Francisco if CMC is back. CMC, Debo, Juszczyk, probably a lot of runs in there, maybe a little dink and dunks with screens. I don't see these teams moving the ball very aggressively based off of these statistics. I think they're both going to have to rely on the run more than they have in any of their other games, not part of their normal game plans. I think this will be a good scoring game. I don't think it's a massively high scoring game, so I like the under here.
Okay, James, I don't mind that, but here's Deebo Samuel for you. So last 3 games other than the pneumonia one, right? Yeah. 76, 81, 82 snap percentage. Mm-hmm. In week 8 against Dallas, he was 62%. He had 7 targets for 71 yards, and he had 4 carries for 15 yards. So he was a little bit limited back in week 8. Now we're week 10. So I still think he'll be all the way back if I had to guess. Of course, we don't know what kind of therapeutics he's getting versus maybe what you had when you had pneumonia. So I guess we'll see on that.
And all the steroids, bro. They were great.
But so you had under 50.5, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. The Buccaneers. I was thinking the same thing, and then I saw this. Buccaneers, home defense, 3rd worst in the league in EPA per play. Not good. 49ers, road offense, 5th best in the league in EPA per play. All-time bad spot for the Buccaneers. Short rest. 49ers, who were already banged up, are now getting Christian McCaffrey back and are off of a bye. That doesn't sound good. It's a long flight. So, I guess I get giving the Buccaneers a 2-point advantage. It's an early game. West Coast team, early game, not good. But I'm just like CMC all the way back. Buccaneers banged up.
Nick Bosa is excited. He is on top of the world right now.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Another big Kittle game. We have an extension on that big Kittle game from tight ends week a couple weeks ago. 49ers -5. I'm taking a lot of favorites, James, and we have still not agreed.
Wow. I might have to make an audible on my Sunday night pick.
Titans at Chargers. This is going to start our 3:00 slate. The Chargers are 7.5-point favorites to the Titans. The over-under pretty low, set to 38 points, which I don't know math very well, but I think that's going to predict the Titans to score like 4 points in this one, James.
Yeah, that's an incredibly low number.
Yeah, big spread, low number.
I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm taking the over. Taking over 38. Let me tell you why. Tennessee, 28th ranked defense, 25th ranked offense, with the 11th best strength of schedule. Chargers, 12th ranked defense, 12th ranked offense, but 24th strength of schedule. So, what does that tell me? Tennessee's very bad.
Chargers, I agree with that.
Okay. I think what we talked about with Jameis Winston and variance, I don't think that matters that much. I think the Titans just keep giving the ball to the Chargers. I think the Chargers might cover the over on their own, and maybe a couple wild things happen. Maybe Tennessee puts up 7. I think if Tennessee just scores 1 touchdown, this over is probably going to hit.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to cover it. You can't throw a 30 out there. Unless it's, 2 JV high school teams. And even in that case, I might want to take it. So I'm taking over 38 here.
Okay. Over 38. I'm not going to agree with you on this one either, James, although I do like where your head's at. I'm kind of like, this is a weird slate because I'm leaning your way. I have leans in your direction and all the picks that you're making right now. The way you're getting there is different than what I would say. I disagree with a lot of the PFF grades that you just provided me. I'm just going to go ahead and say that off the bat. But I'm going to disagree with you here. Chargers. So to your credit, obviously we can get like a mean pick 6, and then the Chargers are going to cover this 38 on their own. So that is a possibility. But what I'm concerned about, James, Chargers best defense in EPA per play. Titans are 8th, so they're pretty good on defense as well. Here's the big one though. Titans offense, 31st in EPA per play. So we're getting Titans the 2nd worst offense going up against the best defense in the NFL right now, according to my metrics. Chargers have played the Broncos and the Steelers, who rank ahead of the Titans defensively in that metric, and they looked okay in those 2 games. Chargers put up 23 points against the Broncos, who are graded slightly above where the Titans are defensively at the moment. Titans play the Lions, who are fourth in EPA per play on defense. They only put up 14 points against them. And by my memory, that was the two first drives, and then got shut out by the Lions for the rest of the game, which they did have a goal line stand, but might have a goal line stand on this game if this one gets out of hand like I'm expecting it to be. So what I'm asking myself is, can the Chargers put up 23 points and hold the Titans to 14? So in my comparisons, I'm like, they're better defense than the Lions, who held them to 14. The Titans are a worse defense than the Broncos. Chargers put up 23 points against them at Denver, and now this is a home game for the Chargers. So I think this line is off by about 3 points or so. So I'm forced to take the favorite, Chargers at home, to cover 7.5 points, James.
Wow.
No agreement so far. What are we going to do?
Well,
for lock of the week.
Luckily, there is a favorite on Sunday night. But
Lions at Houston. Lions are the best team in the NFL. It's not even particularly close. Houston is going to get Nico Collins back off a hamstring. Maybe. Doesn't sound as hopeful as maybe we assumed it was last week based on a few comments by the team that I found up. Either way, we have no idea. Big part about my handicap is going to be Zadarius Smith and how little or big that difference will be for the Lions defense. Jameson Williams, he's back. Not that the Lions missed them at all on offense. Didn't even matter. Had the fastest wide receiver in the NFL off team. Didn't even miss a beat against the Titans and the Packers last couple of weeks. The Texans are 3.5 point underdogs at home. The over-under set to 49, James.
Well, I think America needs a lock of the week. And I think we can both agree on one thing. These Lions are going to steamroll these Houston Texans. Heck, we might even be going out to this game. Give me the Lions minus 3.5, and guess what? You can get it at minus 105. You don't have to pay the minus 110 juice. Even better. Lions minus 3.5. Just go ahead and call it the lock of the week.
James. So I said Lions are the best team in the NFL, and it's not particularly close. If you are the best team in the NFL, James, where would you want them to grade compared to the rest of the NFL in points per game?
Ooh, I would probably want them to be scoring at least 4 or 5 more points per game than most people.
Okay. So would you say, what would you want them, like top 10, top 5 in that points per game?
I want them pretty high up there. I mean, something that's, a 2, a 3, maybe even a 1.
Okay. Well, they're first place in points per game this season. Okay. Point differential, James.
Okay.
If you had the best team in the NFL, where would you want them to grade in point differential compared to the rest of the NFL?
Okay, I think I'm starting to pick up what you're putting down here. I would say you'd want them to rank first.
Yeah, and guess what? They're
ranked first.
Turnover differential, James. If you're just ranking a team in the NFL and you want them to have a good turnover differential, you want them to be the best team in the NFL, where would you want them to rate on that metric compared to the rest of the NFL?
I'm going to go with first again. I'm going with
first place. Ball hawks on defense, protecting the ball on offense, outside of a scoop and score that the Lions ended up coming back from, David Montgomery. First place in turnover differential, James. First. So that's good. Great. Only loss coming to the Bucs in week 2. Like we said already, Jared Goff wasn't playing his best football yet, and neither was the Lions defense, and they were going up against a fully loaded Bucs team who was really, really good when they were fully loaded with their superstar 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers. So Darius Smith gets added to the team for a bag of footballs. It was very nice of the Browns to provide that for him. Shout out to Jimmy Haslam, who's probably pulling the strings in Cleveland right now, getting ready to fire their little scapegoats, little thing that's probably going on a little bit south of the Lions facility. So short drive up for Zadarius Smith. He has 5 sacks this season. He is fully healthy. He has not missed a game for the Cleveland Browns. 9 games, 9 starts. He has a 13% pressure rate, Aiden Hutchinson has a 16th pressure rate this season. Pascal, who was Aiden's backup, kind of filled in for Aiden once he went down, might be healthy. Hopefully he'll be healthy for this one. They're going to get a little bit healthier in the edge position. The Lions will for this game. Hopefully he had a 7% pressure rate. So a massive upgrade for the Lions defense. Lions defense, on that note, has the 8th worst pressure rate this season in the NFL, but they have the 4th best defense in EPA per play. For comparison, they have the lowest pressure rate for the top 17 teams in EPA per play. So top 17 teams in EPA per play, Lions have the worst pressure rate out of all of them. Isn't that crazy?
That's
so
awesome.
What does that tell you? Secondary, ball hawks, James. Ball hawks, Terry Arnold's playing well. Rakestraw came in for a few plays. He's looking great. Carlton Davis is balling for no reason. And obviously Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph catch every single ball that's even thrown in their general vicinity. They had better hands than the Packers offense did last week, James. So just saying that. Texans, defensively, 16th in EPA per rush. And we've seen these Lions bulldoze on the road the Vikings and the Packers, who have much better rushing defenses. Jahmyr Gibbs healthy, David Montgomery healthy, Lions offensive line healthy. Lock of the week, our only agreement, Lions Sunday night -3.5. We're going to try and extend that lock of the week to 7-2. We disagreed on a lot, but that was actually kind of beneficial for both of us last week, because on games that we agreed on 3 games. We were, I think we were 2-3 on those games.
Yeah.
Not counting Thursday night, we were 2-2. But on games that we had a pivot that we didn't fully disagree, I think we hit pretty much every single one of them, James. So,
and we have a pivot on basically every game on this one.
Basically every game. I think the only one we are opposed on is you took the Jags, right?
Yeah. Jacksonville, only pure disagreement.
And I took the Vikings because I think they're going to pass all over the Jags' worst pass defense in the league. So we'll see how that goes, James. But I feel really, really good about this one, and it kind of sucks that we didn't get to discuss our lock of the week longer. But this one just seems too easy.
No deliberation needed here. It's America's team leading the charge on Sunday night.
America's team. We are all going to get behind the Lions, and that's going to unify our country when we need it the most after a highly stressful election and trade deadline day that didn't get talked about enough.
I slept great. I don't know what you're talking about.
I will say, studying for this, I actually studied last night during the election process. So when I studied for like 3 hours last night because I was just so locked in. When I started, it was like 50-50 Trump and Kamala. And I closed this out. I clicked to the gambling lines for the presidential election, and it was like Trump minus 10,000. I was like, oh, I guess we know where we're heading for the rest of for the next 4 years. So we're going to try and keep this podcast great, even though we're getting a new president in office.
It's always been great. This podcast.
We were great before. I think we're going to be great after, James. So hopefully we can keep it going. This is your first time joining us. Please leave a like and subscribe. We will always keep track of how we're doing. If you want to see our receipts, I have them in the comment section of all of our former videos. So please do your due diligence on us. We're not snake oil salesmen here. We're actually doing a pretty good job here picking these games so far. So yeah. Happy to have you on again, James. Anything last to say to the audience?
Yeah, definitely not snake oil salesman. But if any of you are looking to find the Fountain of Youth, I have bottled and found the Fountain of Youth water spout. So for only the low price of $9.99 for every month, you can have 1 bottle a month that will keep you young, beautiful, and rejuvenated. Call the number 8 at the bottom of your screen now.
Great. Shout out to Cayenne Pepper, and shout out to you, James. Thank you. We'll see you next time.